Most people think fighting is what destroys relationships. The raised voices, the arguments, the disagreements. But psychologists have found something surprising. The relationships most likely to fail aren't always the ones with conflict. They're often the ones where conflict disappears completely. Because there's a huge difference between healthy conflict and toxic silence. And if you don't know the difference, you might mistake emotional distance for peace. Healthy conflict happens when two people care enough to address a problem. It doesn't always look pretty. Sometimes voices get emotional. Sometimes feelings get hurt. But underneath the disagreement is one important message. This matters to me. Healthy conflict says, I don't like what's happening, but I still want us to understand each other. Psychologists often point out that conflict itself isn't the problem. The real question is, are both people still trying to connect? When couples discuss problems, express frustrations, and search for solutions together, they're actually investing in the relationship. The conversation may be uncomfortable, but it's still a form of emotional engagement. And engagement is a sign that the relationship is alive. Toxic silence looks very different. There are no arguments, no discussions, no attempts to fix anything. At first, it can feel peaceful, but underneath that silence is often something much darker. Resentment, disappointment, emotional withdrawal. Instead of saying, let's talk about this, the person starts thinking, what's the point? That's the moment relationships become dangerous. Because silence doesn't always mean acceptance. Sometimes it means surrender. The conversation ends. The effort ends. The emotional investment ends. And when people stop trying to be understood, they often start disconnecting completely. Here's a simple way to tell the difference. After a conflict, ask yourself, are we moving toward understanding? Or away from each other? Healthy conflict creates tension temporarily. Toxic silence creates distance permanently. Healthy conflict says, we're struggling, but we're still trying. Toxic silence says, I've already checked out. One is uncomfortable but constructive. The other feels calm but slowly erodes trust, intimacy, and connection. The strongest relationships aren't the ones that never fight. They're the ones where both people feel safe enough to be honest. Conflict isn't always a sign of a broken relationship. Sometimes it's proof that two people still care enough to fight for it. The real danger begins when one or both people stop speaking altogether. Because the opposite of love isn't conflict. It's indifference. And indifference often arrives quietly.